Hello everybody. I did this video yesterday on the way up to do the video at Cades Cove. This is the loop at Townsend. I call it the turnaround because when I used to ride my bicycle, when the Smoky Mountain Wheelmen had their century ride, we rode from Concord Park in Knoxville to this turnaround in Townsend, and then we would ride back to Concord Park. That was a long time ago, and I wish I could do that today. I could do that route on a bicycle in less than 6 hours. Some of us that used to ride that century ride with the Smoky Mountain Wheelmen got together one day and rode from that location, the turnaround, where we started this video, to Cades Cove. I think there was like 15 or 20 of us in the group. Of course, we had some in the group that was stronger than others. And this highway is so heavily traveled, we decided when we left Townsend that we would stick together. So some of the stronger riders would get up front, and it was all we could do to hold them back. But we stayed together. We were going up through here at a pretty good clip, but we had quite a few riders in the group. If they had decided to leave the rest of us, they could have done so easily. It was a cloudy, cold day. The temperature today, when I did this video the 27th of December, 2012, and the temperature was in the 30s on the way up to Cades Cove. It's about 7 miles up this road to Cades Cove, a national park. Parts of the Smokies had a pretty good covering of snow. You could see off in the distance. In my video that I did at Cades Cove, you can see the Smokies off in the distance and some of the snow on the top of the mountain. I'm using my JVC GZM 200. I debated whether to use it or the V500. As I look at this video, we're getting ready to go through this tunnel. The high def is pretty good. As I was saying, I was debating whether to use the V500 or the HM200. The V500 does a better job in low light situations. And it was completely overcast. When we came back from Cades Cove, it was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it felt like it was 6 or 7 o'clock. It was getting so dark up there in the mountains. This is a beautiful area. If you're watching this video and you've never been in this area, it's well worth the trip. The thing about the Smokies, it's not really that expensive. Other than getting there, your gas and lodging on the way, if you're coming from a distance that far away. But Townsend is not like Gatlinburg. Gatlinburg is pretty commercialized. Townsend is kind of a laid-back area. There's really not much at Townsend. So if you're coming to the Smokies to do photography or sightsee, I would highly recommend Townsend as a destination. As I told you before, this is approximately 7 miles from the turnaround there at Townsend, just above Townsend, to Cades Cove. It's a national park, and I consider it a national treasure. This area is so beautiful. And it was fun riding a bicycle up through here. Of course, that was quite a few years ago. Can't do that anymore. Wish I could, but I can't. But I really don't worry about that. I did it, and that's all that counts. I did it when I could, and longevity starts catching up with you, and you can't do at 55 or at 74 what you can do when you're 55. But I wanted to mention the bike ride up here because this was one more climb. I can remember on these rides like this where it seemed like the hill would just go on and on. And if you ride a lot and you do long distance rides on a bicycle, you get to the point to where you more or less lock yourself in and you know what your abilities are. And if you're with a group of people who basically have the same abilities, everybody kind of gets in a cadence and you just keep pedaling. I was riding a Swin Tiempo 12-speed. That day we had one person with us. It was a female. She was riding a bicycle. I don't know how many dollars she had spent for the components and the frame set, but it was a titanium bicycle with some sophisticated components on it. And back then, that bicycle was worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And the ones who could have dropped us decided to stay within the group and not make us all look bad. I'm not saying that you could have ridden this if you were just a casual bike rider. You could not have ridden with this group as a casual rider. And even though they decided to stay together, they had their criteria. They would leave you if you couldn't maintain a decent cadence with the rest of the group. So you had to be fairly, you had to be in shape to ride with this group. At the time, there was one other guy older than me, I think. I forget his name, but I think he was in his 60s and I was in my 50s when we rode this. Most of the people in the group were in their 20s and 30s. Some were in their 40s. I found that usually some of the strongest bike riders that I rode with were in their early 40s. Now that's not including, at the time there was a bicycle club in Knoxville, and it was a racing club. They had a lot of young guys in that. Now you couldn't stay with them. I mean, they were incredible. a lot of the people in this group that I was in the first time I rode up to Cades Cove, on one of the rides, the Century rides I was telling you about from Concord Park to Townsend and back, on the way up, the racing club out of Knoxville, they would always leave last because they like to let everybody get out in front of them, and then they would come by, blow by them, just getting it. And there's, I don't know, 25 or 30 of them, maybe 40 or 50 in the group. On one of the rides, we left, and when we got near the turnoff, at that time the route went down Alcoa Highway. When we got near the turnoff on, I can't remember the road that it took, but the racing club came sprinting by us, and they took the wrong road. So I told some of the group, I said, well, it won't be long till they'll figure out that they took the wrong route. So 4 or 5 in the group said, okay, that's what we'll do. So it wasn't long until the racing club came by us, and I mean, they were jabbering, and I mean, they were getting on it. And I saw them coming, and I started to sprint about the time, and the other guys did too. We started to sprint about the time they came by us drafting, and I don't know, I guess we rode 15 miles, and I'd look down at my odometer, and sometimes we'd be cruising along up into the 30s, which I could have never done for that long of a period of time without drafting a group. You'd be surprised how easy it is to ride behind a group of 25 or 30 strong riders. If they see you back there, they'll try their best to drop you, and most of them have the ability to do just that. But when you get behind 25 or 30 bicyclists, sometimes you can just sit there and coast, and they'll pull you along. What they do is, if they see you doing that, the first hill they come to, because they know that you don't have the abilities that they have, and when they come to a steep grade, they'll sprint the hill, and you'll never catch them. I've had it happen to me so many times. I had one friend who was good enough that he could ride with those people. And he used to tell me, he said, the only way, if you ever want to really try to stay with them, is just sit back there and rest. And when you try to see the hill coming before they do, and when they do, start sprinting with them, and a lot of times they'll pull you across the hill. But I was never able to stay with them on a long, drawn out, especially one like this. I could drop some people, but most people could drop me. Up a group of 25 or 30, it was great. They'd pull you along. So we're about there. We're about to the top. And when you're riding a long hill like this, when you see the top, it is the most elating feeling. I mean, you're elated. Hope I said that correctly. But the adrenaline usually is pumping about this time. And a lot of times you're going strictly on adrenaline. Anybody that's an avid bicyclist knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're a young person out there and you're looking for a sport that I consider one of the greatest sports around, go get you a racing bike. You can get a touring bike, but I never did like those touring bikes. I always had a racing bike. The wheelbase was shorter, and they were quicker. You could turn those things or miss things in the road. We're almost to our destination. On the video I did from Cades Cove, I came out here from the parking lot and turned left, went down that way. That's the loop road. What was I going to? Oh yeah, this video, I have my camera mounted inside the car. You lose a little bit going through the windshield, but when the weather is kind of inclement, it's kind of hard to use your camera out on the hood of the car. So that's why I mounted it. I've got two suction cups that it does a pretty good job, and you can adjust the camera until you can get the angles just right. What Pat and I did, we came down into this, that's a public bathroom there on the right. There's a river on the other side, which you'll see if you watch my Cades Cove video. But I wanted to start my Cades Cove video from this parking lot. And there's a camping area somewhere. I think they have RV camping and tent camping, and that would be a absolutely fantastic place to go camp. Well, that just about ends this video.